All right, everybody. I actually already recorded an intro, but I wasn't sure what I was going to do and how I was going to put this whole thing together because this ended up running really long because of the way I ended up breaking it down. And each section kind of runs into like 20 minutes each, 15 to 20 minutes. So, part one is my history with Star Trek and how long I've been watching it and my thoughts on all the various stuff leading up to Starfleet Academy. Part two is me basically talking about all the episodes for Starfleet Academy, getting into some character dynamic stuff like that, but mostly kind of trying to focus a little bit on the episodes, going through, episode by episode. And then part three is me talking about the individual characters. And my feelings on the individual characters, and then my tie-up at the very end of everything I think should be done going forward, and my thoughts and views overall. So, thank you very much for watching up front. This is up front to let you know. I'm going to maybe put in markers. There's definitely going to be, little things come up, say part one, part two, part three. But that is how this is going to work. So, enjoy. I hope you enjoy watching this as much as I enjoyed recording this. And don't listen to the haters. Watch it. Make up your mind for yourself. Hey, everyone. All right. So I know I normally don't talk about TV shows. I know I've done a few in the past and whatnot. But I'm really, really annoyed at the hate that Starfleet or Star Trek Starfleet Academy is getting. Really, Nerdrotic, I will bitch slap that mother the next time I see him. If I ever see him personally face to face, for the amount of smack he talks. The dude is such a imposer. Oh my God. You can tell he's never actually paid attention to Star Trek. Because every point he's ever made, I can counter without trying. And Critical Drinker, I'm hit and miss with him most of the time to begin with. But once again, when it comes to Star Trek and whatnot, there's a lot of times where he's way the hell off and can be easily countered. And then there's everybody else that's hating on it. The big one I keep hearing is how Paramount won't release the viewing numbers, or they're not releasing the information, or it's not even hitting the viewing numbers for Paramount, blah, blah, blah. In Canada, so I've got Paramount Plus Canada, it's been in the top 10 the entire time it's been on. It might not be number one on Paramount Plus, but it's the top 10 on Paramount Plus, okay? So and that top 10 includes the new movies too, that's the top 10 viewership of Paramount Plus. They've been on it every single week since the show debuted. So the US might not be responding to it, but Canadians are responding to it. Now, how is that comparing to everybody else? I don't know, but who cares? I'm just saying it's showing up there, If I could get actual numbers too, that would be wonderful. Okay, so that being said, moving on. I want to get into some of the major first things that need to be said right off the bat, okay? No Star Trek show has ever done well in its first season. When people say that Starfleet Academy has the best viewership of any first season Star Trek show, I could almost believe it. One thing a lot of people keep forgetting and like to overlook, the original run, the original series, okay? So Star Trek, as we all know, Kirk, McCoy, Spock, Scotty, going on. The original and Bring On Out of God. Anyways, the first three seasons were constantly in jeopardy of being canceled. It was supposed to run for 5 years, hence the whole 5-year mission. But the show only ended up running for 3 because got canceled after 3. They fought to keep it on the air for 3. And it wasn't until it came back in syndication in the 70s that it really people started to take notice. The first movie, well, commercially successful, was critically slammed, and most fans thought it was a snooze fest and a half. Okay, my dad, I was born in 78, so I remember growing up as a kid, Star Trek, the original series, was on in the afternoon, on the weekends and whatnot. There's pictures of my sister's birthday, her first birthday, and there's Star Trek on in the background, and the pictures of my sister's first birthday. Just it was on in the background. But I remember this would have been before the age of 5. My dad watching the motion picture on television when it got played on television, and that was my first introduction that I can remember to Star Trek, was the motion picture. I didn't remember it well because I was like 4 or younger, possibly, and when Wrath of Khan came out, my dad ended up with the video cassette of it, an official video cassette of it, and I watched the hell out of that thing, man. Wrath of Khan was the stuff. When The Next Generation first premiered, my dad sat down with me. We watched it together when it first premiered on TV. I remember that very much, and I remember my dad wasn't exactly thrilled with it. And my dad didn't really, as far as I know, keep up with The Next Generation that much until I reintroduced him to it a little bit down the line. And when he saw that it got better, he's like, oh, okay, blah, blah, blah. But my dad had that whole mentality of, nah, this isn't my Star Trek when The Next Generation came out. And then Deep Space Nine came out, okay? Now, for the, wait, before we get off Next Generation, for those of you that don't know, it took until the end of the 3rd season of Next Generation to truly solidify an audience, okay? Now, at the same time, you also still had the movies going on for the original, and then the story of every other movie, the even number movies did really well, the odd number movies didn't do as great, okay? Now, the reality is no movie was better than The Wrath of Khan for the original cast. But I mean, Search for Spock, I think, is a highly underrated movie. The Voyage Home was a fantastic movie, even though everybody goes, oh yeah, the one with the whales. Even Tracy, my love, she goes, which one was the one with the whales again? The Voyage Home, dear. Oh yeah, that one. That was the only one my sister would watch, too. The Final Frontier, that one, I know it's not viewed as a very, very kindly, and this is going to come back around a little bit later on because it suffered from the same problem that Discovery suffered from, introducing a character the way the hell out of nowhere that doesn't make sense. So anyways, going back into TNG didn't get good until, it was really solid by the third season going forward got really, really solid. It was really good at the end of the 3rd season where it got really solid. Okay, so Deep Space Nine comes out. Oh my God. Deep Snore 9. Deep Sleep 9. For me, Deep Space Nine didn't get good until Worf showed up on the show. I tolerated it. Quark was a great character right off the get-go. The Trill with Jadzia and Dax, that was really, really good. Now we're going to come back around, obviously, to Dax. That was all fun. I really enjoyed that, stuff like that. But for the most part, it took until Worf showed up or the Dominion War really got going for me to really start enjoying Deep Space Nine. And that's how it was for most people I know. Like Odo was interesting. It was whoever was a new kind of alien character that you could explore new aliens with or get into it with. Those were where the fun was. But, outside of that, Cisco was boring as hell. I really hate the whole Bajoran Cardassian storyline. The whole way around. I really, really, I was never a fan of it. It just, Bajorans really irk me. They really irk me. Cardassians, I mean, they're meant to be bad guys, so that's okay. You're allowed to hate the bad guys when they're meant to be bad guys. But Garrick was one of the most interesting characters there was. Gul Dukat was kind of just cliche. Gul Dukat and Cisco, to me, were both one-note characters at the end of the day. Divine evil, divine good. That's how they broke them down at the very end. Like it just kind of. Voyager. Okay, so for me, I'm going to say it flat out. Voyager is actually my favorite of all the series. I absolutely love everything about Voyager. Voyager, once again, slow going though. The first season sucked. The second season wasn't so great either. Third season started getting better. When did it get great? When we introduced Seven of Nine and the Borg became a regular player. Storylines started getting better, more intricate, more advanced. Really started to enjoy them. And the one common thing with all these shows, you needed a few seasons to get them going, get them established before they really got good. You had your hardcore fans that were there from the get-go, but you had to build up the audience with them. I absolutely loved Voyager. There was a couple of the early seasons of Voyager where I had to catch them on the repeat day because when they would premiere the first time, it was at the same time slot as another show I was watching, and I don't remember what at the moment. But here on Detroit TV, they would play it once during the week in a primetime slot. I don't remember what the primetime slot was because I think it bounced a couple times. And then they would play it again Sunday afternoons. So I'd always catch the repeat on Sunday afternoons. I really loved Voyager. Still do. Still to this day, it's my favorite of all the Star Trek shows that have come out. Going forward from there, then you get an Enterprise. All right. So I think Enterprise was a brilliant idea. I think there were definitely some missteps with Enterprise. But I think with those missteps, other things were allowed to be done later on down the line a little bit. Or I guess had to be at least closed up for plot hole purposes. The temporal war was really kind of a bit of a pain in the tush. I think that was But same thing with Enterprise, though. It took until the third season before the show started getting really good. They were kind of floundering around the first season, which I think was a bit of a mistake. But when you got into the third season, it started getting really, really good. And then by the time you get to the fourth season, they were really establishing the show. Then they cut the show. They should have let it keep going. It was really getting good, and people were coming back to the show. I knew a lot of people that were honestly saying, oh, yeah, it is getting good. I'll go back and I'll start watching it again. So that was a misstep. And then on top of that, they came out with that one more Next Generation movie after Voyager ended. And that was a mistake. They should have done a handoff to go to Voyager. Voyager should have gone to the movies next. And that misstep is the whole reason why the first two seasons of Picard sucked so badly, in part. All right, so moving forward. That would put us at no Star Trek until we get the reboot movies. And the reboot movies don't factor into this conversation really all that much, other than to say that they happened. Then we get Discovery. When it first was airing, I watched the whole first season, and I absolutely hated it. I hated every last part of it. I hated what they did to the Klingons. It didn't make sense for the time period that they were in. I hated what they did to the Like, it still doesn't even make sense that they, like, that whole side story with the one that they did the body augmentations on to make them human and whatnot. There was no need for that. They already had a storyline that was right there that would have worked fine. Their Discovery made a lot of huge missteps right in the beginning. And I really did not like the first season. So after the first season, I actually stopped watching. And I did not pay attention to Star Trek again until I started watching Lower Decks. And I loved Lower Decks. Oh my God, Lower Decks was so fun. All right. Then I get to the beginning of Starfleet Academy. And I now realize that I have no clue what they're talking about with this thing called the burn. So now I got to go back and watch Discovery from the beginning. First season sucks. Oh my God, it was so hard to get through that first season. Tracy and I really had to push to get through that first season. Like, it was like one episode, 2 episodes a week. I think after we watched like the first 2 episodes, we didn't watch another episode for like a solid 2-3 weeks afterwards. Second season wasn't so bad. You could tell they were trying to clean up some messes. Third season was good. Third season actually started getting pretty decent. I was enjoying the third season. And the fourth and fifth season weren't bad either, you know. Now, Michael Burnham was a horrible character. Having an entire show centered around one main character when it comes to Star Trek is absolutely stupid. I do understand why people have issues with Discovery. It was, oh man, they worked really hard to clean up a mess. They worked really, really hard to clean up a mess, but man, was it a mess. But I liked what they did with cleaning up that mess. Jumping Star Trek into the future was a really, really good idea. I think it was a really smart plan. And I had to figure out what the hell the burn was about. So that was stupid. Ultimately, the cause of the burn, that was stupid. I'm not going to give spoilers for anybody here. I don't want to ruin anything, but I thought that was stupid as all hell. Absolutely ridiculously stupid. Okay, so Discovery, yeah, oh man. I hate acknowledging that one. I'm still watching Strange New Worlds. We just started watching that one right now. I very much enjoy Strange New Worlds. I think I don't like Uhura being on the show already. I had to deal with Spock being there, and Spock being there was okay because Spock was there in the cage. And I don't remember Uhura being there in the cage. Maybe she was, and I don't remember correctly. I think Rebecca Romaine being casted as number one was brilliant. Looks so great. Looks perfect. The dude doing Christopher Pike is fantastic. I'm really enjoying that. I'm enjoying a lot of what they're doing there, and I like that they're using stuff from Enterprise in there as well. That they found ways to mix characters and other aliens in there from Enterprise. I can't remember the proper name for them. They're the Andorians, but they're not the normal Andorians. They're the really pale, telepathic, blind ones that live in like the super deep mythical caves that were in Enterprise. Like literally having the engineer being one of those is a beautiful callback to Enterprise. I really enjoy that. So that's cool. All right. So I'm going to take a brief pause here, take a drink. Then we're going to come back and we're going to get right into Starfleet Academy. All right. So the very first thing I want to acknowledge, the biggest problem the whole way around with both Discovery, Brave New Worlds, or these Strange New Worlds doesn't count because Strange New Worlds had a pilot over 50 years ago, 60 years ago, 60 years ago, had a pilot 60 years ago. So Strange New Worlds doesn't count. They had a lot of time to develop that one. A lot of time to develop that one. But Discovery specifically and Starfleet Academy, they both suffer from, I think, the same problem. Too much money on the special effects, which takes away the number of episodes they can have in the season. And well, it is nice to have all the cool sci-fi woohoo stuff and make it look all woo. We don't need that. The Picard series, which I know I haven't gotten into yet, first two seasons were absolutely god awful, but look at the mess they had to clean up. Look at the giant mess they had to clean up from where the last movie Nemesis had left off, where Voyager had left off. Yeah, and then there was nothing forever, and there was just mess after mess after mess. And then you had the whole thing with, I don't even know how the movies still factor in with Romulus getting toasted, which I do know happens because that was something cool I really, really liked in the fact that there's no Vulcan anymore and it's Navir now. Oh, that was a cool change. That was really cool. Okay, so where I'm going with this is where was I going? Oh yeah, okay, so there are not enough episodes. There isn't. Now, the reason why I say this is with Starfleet Academy, if they had been given the proper 26 episodes and they cut back on the special effects so they weren't doing as much crazy spacey stuff, just a lot more in the ship kind of stuff where you don't need a ton of special effects. You just got your panels along the walls, you're in your room, stuff like that. Some backstory stuff, so maybe some extra sets, but you do as practical as you can, reusable stuff. Because they have a lot of characters that are really worth exploring or doing back episodes on. All right. And with them only having, hold on, I've got Paramount up in front of me here. What is it? 10 episodes? Yeah, 10 episodes. You don't have a lot of time to play with this stuff or to get going. And I think that really hurt a lot of it. Now, I'm going to go through I got each episode, so I'm going to go through this real quick. Season 1, episode 1, the premiere of the show. You're introducing everybody. It's always a slog. None of the shows had good pilots. None of them. The original series had what? 3 separate technical first episodes? 3 separate pilots. Okay, so let's just take that into consideration for a minute. Okay, and that was just to get it on the damn air. The Next Generation, like I said, my dad was not a fan of the pilot when it first came out. And when you go back and rewatch the pilot, if you watch it with the new updated special effects, not as bad. But if you watch it the original way, Deep Space Nine, that pilot's a slog. Voyager wasn't as bad, but it's still a slog. Enterprise was a slog to get through. Like they're all just such horrible, long-winded. But you gotta introduce everyone. The difference with Starfleet Academy, and I'll say it, because of Paul Giamatti being good, especially in the first episode, man, the way he chewed up the scenery and the way he was going off of that, oh my God. I don't care what anybody says. Yes, Starfleet Academy, and I'm not counting Lower Decks because Lower Decks and Strange New Worlds don't count because they were both playing off of existing material that was already very much established for those shows. So introducing all brand new, blah, 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 without a doubt. Season 1 of Starfleet Academy had the best intro to any of the Star Trek shows ever. Okay, the most entertaining, enjoyable, best characters going right from the get-go. All right. Also, the fact that Holly Hunter, I think, helps with that as well. The barefoot thing, I agree. And the way she sits in the captain's chair, I agree. It is unbecoming of a captain, and it is not appropriate, and I don't like it. But really, it's a small foible. And they're really small things. Put the boots on, which they started doing. They even made a joke out of showing that they put the boots on. And I don't care how she sits in her ready room or anything like that. I'm talking about when she's in the captain's chair itself. That cross-legged shit in the captain's chair. No. 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 You were expected to present yourself like Catherine Janeway and all other female captains that came before you. You're not special. I don't care how many hundreds of years old you are. By the way, I'm going to get into this a little bit later as well. Holly Hunter, looking damn good for her age. Okay. Now, first episode, it is a bit of a slog still to get through. It was a little slow, don't get me wrong. But it's the first episode. I introduced so much crap. I don't like either that the show was focusing so much on Caleb is that main character there. And I do like that they've gone off of Caleb a little bit and focus on some of the other characters throughout the season, which is good. Problem is, they should have done it with the teachers as well. This goes back to what I was saying about cut down on the special effects budgets, more stories. Because there's some stuff in here that was really good and really need to be done. All right. Episode 2, that one was kind of it was necessary for the development of Caleb, but that was the problem. It was necessary for the development of Caleb, and that was kind of it. It was kind of, to me, felt like a throwaway. Which, when you only have 10 episodes, you really can't have a throwaway. All right, episode 3. This one I thought was brilliant. I thought it was absolutely brilliant. First off, you're Starfleet Academy. Everybody's younger. The fact that everybody keeps calling this Starfleet or Star Trek 90210, that one, it works sort of, but it also annoys me at the same time. Because if this is Star Trek 90210, then that means that Deep Space Nine was Star Trek Melrose Place. All right? People complain about the love stories in here and whatnot. Let's remember that Kirk was the whore of the universe, so it's okay to be the man whore of the universe, to the point where, let's remember Carol taking David and hiding David from him because she didn't want David ended up like him, and what ends up happening to David anyways. Okay, so these are nice, healthy relationships. Teenagers, young people, they explore relationships. You're at an academy. That's going to happen, folks. Episode 3, I think, was a great episode because it's a prank battle between the cadets at the academy and those at a rival school, which is the Earth Military School or the United Military. They're in two separate branches, basically. You got Starfleet, and then you got more like your militant kind of side of things, your security side of things. And I think it was a great episode, man. I laughed. I thought it was hilarious. Brilliant episode. Okay. I need more story on what the hell happened to the Klingons. This little, we're just going to mention that the Klingons annihilated themselves basically with a weapon, and then that's it? That's episode 4. That's all I'm getting out of that. You're not going to give me any more details than that? What the hell? But I really like that it's a good episode to let you know where the Klingons are at in the future and why we haven't really seen them at all with where Discovery ended up and then where we're at now, Starfleet Academy and whatnot. It's really, really interesting, really cool, actually. I very much enjoyed the episode. It also gives us a good look into Jayden, and I know a lot of people have been talking smack about Jayden and his skirt. You know what? Dudes, I'm sorry, but there's nothing wrong with the dude. If Scotsman could go out into a battlefield wearing kilts, there's no reason why these Starfleet guys can't go out wearing their little, I can't remember the proper name for the dress uniform thing where it comes down really low and looks like it's a skirt. Who cares? Quit being anybody that's whining or crying about that really needs to be smacked like a bitch because you're whining like a bitch. So you deserve to be smacked like a bitch. That's it, Nerdrotic and Critical Trigger. Oh, he's wearing a dress. He's wearing it. Fuck off. My God, you pussies. Fucking whino like bitches. Oh my God. And yeah, I would smack both of them, no fucking problem. Neurotic pisses me off more. Critical Trigger, some stuff he's okay with. He'll have legitimate complaints. Neurotic's just a whiny little bitch, and he's such a fake too. Okay, so that's episode 4. That was kind of cool. Jaden on that one. Okay, then we get the Sam episode, series acclamation mill, which is 5. Sam is an annoying character. I am going to be completely honest. Now, I am interested in her people and whatnot. That's really cool. That's something that they keep slowly exploring, which is really cool. As of this point in this series, I hate Sam. All right? I have absolutely no use for Sam. She is the most annoying character on the entire show. And it felt like she was put in there specifically just to be inclusionary of autistic people, but like the worst parts of it, and it wasn't working for me. And when I say the worst parts of it, I mean like the most cliche stupid stuff. Not like serious look at it or, serious thoughts around it or whatnot. Just, hey, I'm all weird and quirky. So I was not liking what Sam was representing at first. But this episode itself, where Sam, the idea of Sam as a character, I like how she develops from this point going forward, which is really good. They really gave her some story points to move her forward, which was really good, really necessary. Episode 6, they go out, dangerous mission. Necessary, we need some action episode. But it's kind of how it more or less felt. Necessary, we need some action episode. 7. Oh, 7 was cool because that was we get to see into, I can't remember the name of the dude, and they don't have it up on the screen here. One of the new guys, the guy that in the Sam episode pukes glitter. We'll come back around to that. Because in the Sam episode where he pukes glitter, I'm like, oh, this is another standard Sam kind of ism sort of thing. Until I think it is in this episode or another episode, episode 7 or later, I don't remember which one, he actually does it again. He actually pukes glitter again, which means his species does, and Sam is nowhere around, which means his species does actually puke glitter, which is hilarious as hell. And it makes sense. It's a good gag, but it makes sense. He's an alien species. They can literally transform his skin. He's supposed to be living underwater. I really would like to see more of his species, but this is going to be a major CG kind of thing, and that's going to be expensive. But the fact that his anatomy is completely different, so to think that whatever's in his stomach, when he barfs air and it hits the air and becomes aerosolized, it turns into glitter. That is really kind of cool and interesting. I think it's awesome. Go with it, right? All right. Then you got Life in the Stars. Okay. This one's, I believe this is the one that had Tilly in it, which is kind of fun that way. Yeah, it's the one that had Tilly in it. So it was kind of fun that way, and I do like Tilly. Tilly was a very enjoyable character on Discovery. Anybody complaining about Tilly forgets about Deanna Troi sometimes. I do realize that Tilly was a little heavier than Deanna Troi, but I mean with the hair part. But we're not going to get into, considering they had Bolians on various different ships. I don't see how Tilly is any different than having the Bolian on the ship. Sorry. You lost the argument with Bolian. Tellarites as well, kinda, help kill that argument too. So I like Tilly. We're not going to complain about Tilly. And no Tilly hate here. Um, so where I'm going with this is episode 8, processing emotions, dealing with stuff. I like the episode more because of the Sam part of the episode, which was great. And that was kind of really nice to have a great callback with the doctor as well in that one. And to hear the doctor talk about something from the past. And I'm going to get into that as well. And then the last 2 episodes, they're a little heavy on the Caleb story for me again. And once again, we're focusing a little too much on one person, which was my problem with the other show, but Discovery. But I thought it was a solid ending to the season. I thought it was really well done. Okay, we're going to take one more pause. I know this is really long, but I've really been annoyed with this. So we're going to take another pause. I'm going to have another drink, and we'll be back, and I'm going to talk about the individual casts going through here. All right, so I'm going to do in this part, I'm going to go through the cast, and the pros and cons, both of this. And I'm going to wrap this up with where I really think the show needs to go. I know the second season is already wrapped, which means hopefully there's a third season, and I'm hoping that the second season does get better. I really do want to see one of these shows actually be given some time to actually grow. Because that's what Star Trek always needs. Every series has needed time to grow. So let's get the cast here. Holly Hunter to start with, okay? Love Holly Hunter, fantastic actress. Looks great for her age. In a role, Nala like, you know, I think it's lazy to make her a species that looks identical to humans, but at the same time, she lives hundreds of years. It's just, give her something. Nasal ridges, something. I don't know. Weird makeup, some type of skin tone change. I don't care. Do something else, just a little. just something. Webbing between her fingers. I don't care. Just something. Just something a little different. I think she's great as a head of Starfleet, a brand new rebuilding Starfleet. Something that's got to really be taken into consideration there, like where all this is in history with everything else. So I think that's really good that way. I do like the idea that they went and got someone who's multi-hundred years old. Someone that remembers what it was like to actually be at Starfleet Academy when it was originally there before the burn. All right, so Caleb, I'm hoping we are finally done with the will he, won't he, will he, won't he. Is Caleb going to stick around? Is he going to leave? Blah, 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 blah crap. Now that the thing with his mom's established and whatnot, it's all fixed up. I really hope we're done with that crap because I don't want any more to do with it. At this point, just go. I'm tired of the orphan trope is what it is. So now that we've established he's not an orphan, mommy's still alive, etc. bullshit, let's move on from that, okay? Let's just let him normalize a little bit. All right. Then we got Jaden Craig. I've already covered Jaden pretty well already. I like his character. I've liked his character from the get-go. The idea of a bit of a pacifist Klingon works for me, especially when you consider other characters we're going to talk about. And, like I said, I've covered that enough. Sam, I've covered well enough already. I definitely like her a lot better by the end of the season than I do before the season. Darren Rainey, right. Okay, so this was the guy from the other planet who his name I couldn't remember. I'm he's your standard kind of, he's there for everybody to kind of butt up against, he's supposed to be kind of like your prep boy. That'd be the best way to put it. But it works. I have no qualms, no complaints. His character does what he needs. They've started giving him some development, which is nice. Bella Shepherd. Oh, sorry. Genesis Liff. Um, Hey, first off, I'm going to say it flat out. I think she's the cutest one on the show. And I think that Caleb chasing after the other one and staying away from Genesis is silly. I absolutely love Genesis's character. She's a lot of fun on the show. Fantastic. All right. Then we got the computer character, the two voices, which we're just going to, the Athena and the Starfleet Academy voice. Stephen Colbert does the Starfleet Academy voice, and Athena is done by Britt Marling. I really want to know, one, where the Talaxian fleas came from. Two, did the Talaxians make it to the Delta Quadrant? Like, did the group that Neelix was with, did a bunch of them decide to come out to the Delta Quadrant eventually? Like, or I mean, from the Delta Quadrant to the Alpha Quadrant or whatever? And how? I really... Talaxian, like, I'm hearing Talaxian fleas. I haven't seen a Talaxian yet, but I'm really kind of curious about this Talaxian fleas. How'd they get there? And blah, 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 blah. And, like, there's like 800 years here we need to cover, folks. Well, not 800, I think it's like 700 from Voyager, but. All right, Laura Thuck. This is an interesting... a woman Jem'Hadar Klingon mix. Now, the reason the woman part's important is if you know your lore, technically the Jem'Hadar were all male and they were all just cloned out of batch. So I really would like some backstory on one, how the Jem'Hadar got to the point where they could start producing children themselves. Two, when they hooked up with Klingons. Well, I mean, hers is kind of explained how that happened. But I would really like to know more on this Jem'Hadar evolution, which I'm going to come back around to with episodes we need. The Doctor. Okay, so the Doctor is really going to need a little more exploration. There was, when it was on, what was it, episode 7? Yeah, episode 7. Or no, sorry, episode 8, Life in the Stars. The Doctor, what he goes through, it's the first time we really get a look into his psyche of what it's been like. There's a couple times throughout the season, some of them been blink and you miss it kind of things, where you get kind of a clear understanding that he has a really hard time dealing with his own lifespan and how long he's been alive and how long he's been going. And you get to find out how much, he's really lost over the years. So when he forms the connection that he does with Sam at that point, it's something that he really needed, but we need more to find out what it was like for him throughout all those. I mean, realistically, you could give the Doctor a season all of his own, just, each episode kind of going what it was like going through a particular century for him. That would be such a brilliant spinoff. Tarima Sadal, this is the Beta Z girl with the superpowers. Between her and Genesis, I don't get it, Caleb. Between her and Genesis, I just don't get it. Just don't get it at all. Genesis is just on every level. Jet Reno. Jet Reno, when she was introduced on Discovery, became one of my favorite characters right off the bat. She was the engineer version of Dr. McCoy. I just absolutely love her. And she plays off of everybody in every scene she's in. Her dry, sarcastic, bitey wit just plays off everybody so brilliantly. I just can't help but love her as a character. So more Jet Reno is needed. Like more. Charles Vance. Character I didn't mind on Discovery, carried over, does the job. Commander Kelrick serves his purpose. And then after that, we kind of get into characters that are just there, occasionally or extras or whatever, or the guest appearances. The biggest problem is there are not enough episodes. There, like I said, the Doctor deserves episodes of his own. I agree it's Academy, but the Doctor should be in a classroom, okay? History. The Doctor, of all people, the Doctor should be teaching, even if it's medical history or whatever. The Doctor should have one where he's in a classroom, one episode a season, minimum, where he's in a classroom and he's telling a story about what life was like on Voyager. You start with Voyager, coming on Voyager, and that one could be a fun clip episode, okay? But then you have life after Voyager, and go through, give the Doctor where he's teaching, but there's stories where you get to see back episodes. So easy to do, so cheap to do if they wanted. And all you have to do is build, a few different sick bays for over the years. Ooh, it's not that hard. Or expensive, especially the way Star Trek likes to reuse stuff. Just redo it. It's not hard. Put the Doctor in sick bays over the years, or different parts of his life over the years, stuff like that. Okay, just do it. Another one to go with that is, like I said, each teacher I really think should get an episode just for their life kind of thing, backstories on what's happened. There should be more classroom episodes where they're actually doing like history of stuff that we've missed. So much potential there just to go through, or do holodeck simulations of certain time periods where we've missed just to get a little bit on. There's so much that they are losing out on by only doing 10 episode seasons. And there's so much that the fans are losing out on by only doing 10 episode seasons. And there is no excuse for this. I don't think the writing's that bad. Is it great? No, but they're still finding their footing, and I understand this. With every Star Trek show I've had to get into, and once again, except for the original series, I have seen every single premiere the night it premiered. And every single one of them have always had the same responses. I mean, Deep Space Nine wasn't even originally supposed to go for 7 seasons. It ended up getting stretched out one more season. It was originally only supposed to go for 6. Last minute, it went for 7. They give the show some time. Stop listening to the jackasses like Nerdrotic and all the other haters. I'm sorry, they are. None of them are honestly watching these episodes with a critical eye. They're just watching these episodes to hate on the episodes. They're watching the show to hate on the show. If you haven't watched it yet, after all I have said, then either one, you're not a Star Trek fan, that's okay. You want to be a hater, and go ahead, you be a hater with the haters. But you know what? If you're going to be a hater at this point and you're not willing to even truly watch the show and give it a chance, shut the fuck up and let the fans enjoy it. Let people find the show and enjoy it. And Paramount Plus, please, third season. Just green light the third season. Extend the third season. Bring down the special effects budget just a little bit. Like I said, you can do some really cool stuff. Very simply. I'm sorry, but anybody who wants to complain about the Doctor getting episodes where he's covering periods of Star Trek history from his medical perspective, like, how did the Doctor survive the burn? Oh, okay. And there is another character that only got one episode, a brief mention, deserves a whole episode to explain how the hell they were there, and that is Dax. I did not like on Discovery when they put a Trill into a human because of the whole Riker thing and how that went. I mean, but we're going to ignore that. How the hell is Dax still alive? Dax was pretty old as a symbiote to begin with when Jadzia and then Ezri ended up with Dax. You had an extra 700, 800 years on top of that, man. That's really old. How did Dax live so long? Was it part of the temporal Cold War? It's got to be, right? It has to be part of the temporal Cold War somehow. But we need to explain how. That needs a whole episode on its own. This is why more episodes. It's at a school. Because you're at a school, you can explore history. That is part of it. Lots of room to play with here. So let's bring down the special effects budget. A lot more episodes. Season 3 needs to be a classic 26 episode season. I'm sorry, it does. You really want to appease the fans. Cut down the special effects budget enough where you can pull off a 26 episode season. And you should have no problem. And then you can release a new episode every other week. Or you can do, just do little breaks in between, whatever. But, And if you need idea men, I will come be your idea men. I will come keep you producing, and I will keep it in line. And I swear to God, I will make this the Star Trek it should be, because man, this show should be able to go forever, technically. If you do this show properly, this show should just be able to keep running and running and running. And this show is the one that should be able to spit out spinoffs. No problem to get Star Trek of the Future going. But if you don't give it time, it's never going to happen. So please, Paramount Plus, I'm here in Canada. I'll fill your Canadian content that way. I'll even be an extra on the show to help cut down on the budgets. We can all make me up. I love to do that. But bring me in to help write. I mean, I'm not a great script writer, but story-wise, I'll give you some good stories, man. We will absolutely make this work, okay? Because you got something good started here. We can just keep going. All right, folks, that's it. I do not know how I did this. I think this is going to have probably been broken down into 3 separate episodes because of how long it is. 3 separate parts. We'll see. You'll already know, because if it's broken into 3 separate parts, I would have done it already. So I don't know when I recorded this. So I'm going to end this as I normally end this. And thank you for watching. I know this is outside the normal, but I really had to complain about this. You'll see a couple links down below. Check those out. Like button, subscribe button, bell for notifications, please and thank you. If you could hit the bell, subscribe button, please. Really trying to get those subscriber numbers up. They're getting there, but they're not there yet. I really like to get those up. Comments. I really am interested. Like, you're welcome to have legitimate complaints about the show, but they got to be legitimate complaints that I can't counteract by saying, man, whore Kirk. Or I can't counteract by saying, every single show, the first 3 seasons suck. Except for Picard. First 2 seasons suck. 3rd season, they listened to the fans. It was a good season. Um, but the first two seasons had to clean up the mess of everything that came before it that didn't get cleaned up for decades, literally. Legitimate comments, legitimate complaints are always welcome. Um, if I can counter your complaint with a stupid little Boolean, that is not very good. I also always like to hear what you think are great things about it. You know, good things are good too. So, you know, comment section, let's have a discussion. We can talk about this. Do you want the third season? You want the third season. We know we're getting the second season. Third season. All right. So start now. Start now. Star Trek Starfleet Academy Season 3. Hashtag. Do it. All right, folks. Otherwise, peace, love, take care.